On a freezing winter night, a single dad drove past a dimly lit bus stop. He saw two little girls huddled together on a bench, shivering in silence. He stopped. He whispered just 3 words. "Come with me." What unfolded the next day would defy logic, stir hearts, and quietly rewrite all their lives. Because sometimes the smallest gesture becomes the beginning of a miracle. Before we begin, if stories of hope, healing, and second chances speak to your soul, tap that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You never know when the next miracle might unfold on your screen. Please consider subscribing. Now let's begin. The wind howled like a wild animal. Snow slashed sideways across the streets of a forgotten corner in Chicago. Not even the street lamps dared to burn at full strength. Ethan Blake pulled his truck to a stop, exhausted from another double shift at the rail yard. He was just about to drive on when something made him look right. There, under the flickering halo of a half-dead bus stop light, 2 tiny forms, curled together. A threadbare blanket lifted just enough for Ethan to see their ankles. Bare. Blue. Still, he could have kept driving. He should have, but he didn't. He stepped out into the storm, boots crunching snow, breath like smoke. One girl stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Are you an angel?" she asked. "Mommy said angels come when it gets really cold." Ethan's voice cracked. "No, sweetheart, I'm no angel, but I've got heat, food, a couch. Will you come with me?" The girl looked at her sister, then back at him. "Okay." He lifted the sleeping one in his arms, took the other by the hand, and walked them toward warmth. Inside the truck, he turned on the heat, wrapped them in blankets, offered granola bars and water. "I'm Hazel," the awake one said. "She's Hope. We're 6. Mommy went to find food. She said to wait by the light." That answer twisted something inside Ethan's chest. He drove slowly, gripping the wheel like he was holding onto the edge of a cliff. This wasn't supposed to happen. He fixed engines, not lives. But how could he walk away? He had made a promise. To Rachel, his late wife. "If you ever see someone cold and alone, Ethan, be the warmth." At home, he laid them near the fire. 2 little girls, safe now, wrapped in warmth. As he stared into the flames, his hands shook. He muttered to himself, "What am I doing?" A knock on the door. He opened it. There stood a woman, thin, soaked, eyes frantic. "My daughters," she gasped. "Please tell me." He stepped aside. She ran inside, fell to her knees. "Hazel, Hope, Mommy's here." Hazel murmured sleepily, "He's nice, Mommy. He has warm hands." She looked at Ethan. "You found them." "They found me," he said. "Or maybe someone sent me." Morning light poured through frosted windows. Hazel stood in the hallway wearing one of Ethan's oversized t-shirts. "Do you have cereal?" she asked. Ethan blinked, then smiled. "Yeah, I think so." Hazel crunched a bite. "Are you going to keep us?" He froze. "That's a question for your mom," he replied. Emma stirred in the armchair. "She called you steady," Hazel said. Emma nodded. "You're steady." Days passed. The girls found laughter in puddles. Emma hummed while cleaning. Ethan fixed things in silence. But the silence wasn't empty anymore. They found rhythm. Spaghetti, warm cocoa, card games. They baked bread. Hope called it magic. Hazel said the oven needed to feel loved. Ethan laughed, full, raw, like he hadn't in years. They began to dream. An old cafe downtown. A new chance for Emma. A new beginning. The hearth. Emma found out. Ethan had bought the cafe. Under his foundation. Behind her back. "You didn't trust me," she said. He stood in silence. "I didn't want you to burn alone," he whispered. She turned away, and the house, once warm, grew quiet again. He returned to the bench. The same one where he met Hazel and Hope. Snow fell gently. He whispered to no one. "I didn't save them. They saved me." A voice behind him. "You always talk to street lamps?" Emma. She had followed him. She stood in the light. "I needed to be trusted." she said. I know, he replied. The space is ready, she said. The permit's cleared. I did it. Myself. He smiled. Then let's go home. They walked side by side, past the glowing sign. Hearth. A place to come home to. The crowd inside laughed. Cocoa flowed. A girl handed out peppermint stickers. But at the edge of the crowd, a man stood still, watching. Tall, still, unfamiliar. Emma froze. Is that? She whispered. Ethan didn't answer, because something about the man's presence wasn't new. Not to him, not to Emma, not to the twins. The miracle had begun, but the past was knocking. And next time, it might not come asking. If the story touched your heart, tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from? Share a piece of your world. And if you believe stories have the power to heal and connect, there's always a seat at our table. Subscribe and join our family of hope. The final lantern flickered into the sky, its soft glow vanishing among the stars. Laughter from Hearth's doorway faded behind them, and all that remained was quiet. But then, a figure emerged from the far end of the street. Not from the light, from the dark. Still, watching, alone. Ethan's smile faltered. His fingers unconsciously reached for Emma's hand. She noticed, her eyes fixed on the stranger beneath the street lamp. Hazel and Hope stopped giggling. The man didn't move. Not forward, not back. Just stood, like a shadow too stubborn to disappear. Emma's voice cracked the silence. I think I know who that is. Not with fear, but with something far heavier, recognition. Ethan stepped slightly forward, his protective instinct still etched deep in his bones. The man took one slow step into the light, enough to reveal a tired face. Thin, weathered, eyes burdened by something time hadn't softened. Emma took a breath that sounded more like a memory than air. His name is Caleb. Ethan glanced sideways. Someone from before? Emma nodded. Hope and Hazel's father. The name settled between them like fresh snow, soft, but suffocating. Hope clutched Hazel's hand tighter. They said nothing, but their silence shouted enough. Caleb stepped closer, not hurried, not hesitant. His eyes flicked from the girls to Emma, to Ethan, then back to Emma. I saw the article, he said quietly. A friend sent it, told me you were alive, that you'd built something. Emma didn't move. Her voice, steady, colder than the wind. You left us. A pause, a long one that held too much history in its silence. I thought I was doing what was best, Caleb said. I was sick, angry, lost. I thought I'd only bring you down. Emma crossed her arms. And now you're here to fix it all? Caleb shook his head slowly. No, I'm here because I don't want to die not trying. Hazel hid behind Ethan. Hope stared without blinking. Ethan knelt beside them. Girls, he said softly, do you want to go inside? They both nodded. He led them toward the door, away from the snow, away from the shadow. But as he opened the door, Emma said, wait. She turned to Caleb. One night. You get one night. For their sake. Not for you. Not for me. Just for them. Caleb nodded. And so the man who disappeared into the storm years ago stepped back into the light. Not with redemption, but with regret. Inside Hearth, the warmth felt like it resisted his presence. Volunteers grew quiet. Emma explained nothing. She didn't need to. Ethan brewed tea, poured 3 cups. Only 2 were touched. Caleb sat at the edge of the communal table, watching the girls color, not daring to speak. Hazel glanced up once. Hope never did. That night, Caleb slept in the basement, on a cot Ethan dragged from storage. No one asked if he'd stay longer. No one offered. Morning came with a silence different from the others. Hope woke early, wandered into the kitchen, saw Caleb, and froze. He smiled faintly. Hi, little bean. She blinked, then said nothing, just turned and walked back down the hall. Emma stood behind the doorway. She had heard every word, every pause. Later, while prepping muffins for the Sunday breakfast rush, Ethan spoke quietly to Emma. You okay? She didn't look up. I don't know. It's like seeing a ghost. One I prayed would stay gone, and feared might come back. Ethan wiped flour from his hands. Do you want him to leave? I want answers, but I don't trust the ones he gives. Around noon, the girls finally spoke. Hazel sat beside Caleb and asked, Do you even know what our favorite color is? He paused. Purple. Hazel shook her head. It's peppermint. Hope added from across the room. That's not a color. Hazel grinned. It is to us. A flicker of a smile from Caleb. But it didn't stay. That afternoon, Emma asked Ethan to walk with her. They crossed the alley to the empty chapel behind the cafe, now in used storage space. She turned to him. I need you to hear something. Ethan nodded. I don't know what to do with this. Caleb's return. The girls. My heart. This life I've built. You don't have to know, Ethan said gently. You only have to decide if the past deserves a seat at the table you built for the future. She looked up, surprised. That's your poetry showing. He smiled faintly. Hazel's rubbing off on me. That evening, Emma sat with Caleb at the table. No kids. No Ethan. Just two people who once believed they could build something together. You left me with 2 children under 5. In a shelter. With no money. No way to explain where you were. I was in rehab, Caleb said quietly. Then a halfway house. Then nothing. I didn't think I'd survive. You survived, she said. But we had to survive without you. He didn't argue. Emma leaned back. You're not here to stay. No, you're not their father. He looked up slowly. I'd like to try. Emma's voice broke, just slightly. They already have someone. Caleb didn't ask who. He already knew. The way hope curled into Ethan's side. The way Hazel called him Mr. Snowman. The way they both waited for his approval. Ethan hadn't replaced Caleb. He had simply become what Caleb chose not to be. The next day, Caleb asked to walk them to school. Emma hesitated, but Hope surprised them all by saying, Only if Ethan comes too. So they walked, for people and a man trying to remember how to be one of them. Outside the school gate, Caleb knelt down and gave Hazel a folded drawing. Crooked heart. Inside it, the words, I'm sorry. I love you anyway. Hazel didn't smile, but she didn't throw it away. Hope hugged Ethan. She whispered, Don't let mommy cry too much today. Ethan nodded. Caleb left that evening. No dramatic goodbye. No promises. Just a soft wave from the sidewalk. Emma watched from the doorway. Arms folded. Shoulders square. He was broken, she said. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. So were you. So was I. She nodded. But I didn't stay that way. That week, Hearth Cafe returned to its rhythm. Bread, soup, laughter. But something had shifted. Not broken, just matured. The volunteers moved more deliberately. The girls asked deeper questions. Emma smiled, but her eyes looked inward more. One night, she stood at the kitchen window. Ethan came beside her. She didn't look up. I forgave him. Ethan paused. That's good. I didn't do it for him. I know. I did it because I couldn't build this place with bitterness stuck in the mortar. She turned to him. You helped me see that. That weekend, they hosted a community night. Storytelling, music, warm cider. Hazel and Hope performed a puppet show. Ethan played harmonica terribly. Emma sang a lullaby her mother used to hum. Soft, gentle, broken in all the right places. And when the lights dimmed and the crowd thinned, they stayed behind. The 4 of them, sweeping glitter from the floor, folding chairs, baking one last tray of cinnamon rolls. Hazel turned to Ethan. You know what you are? He looked up from the flower. You're not a snowman. No, you're the hearth. Hope nodded sagely. Warm, steady, and smells like cookies. Emma laughed, then cried, then laughed again. And Ethan, the man who once only spoke to engines, had no words. He didn't need them. 1 year later, Hearth Cafe expanded. Not bigger, just deeper. A side room became a reading nook. Another, a quiet clinic for those in need. Hope and Hazel ran a kids' kindness booth every Sunday. where they handed out compliment cards and mint tea. Emma baked wedding cakes now, for couples who met over soup bowls. She wrote their names in flour on the prep table first, called it a sprinkle of luck. Ethan built shelves, painted signs, managed finances, and every Friday he taught young men from the shelter how to fix engines. Not just cars themselves. He called it second gear. One morning, Emma pulled a sealed envelope from the mailbox. No return address. Inside was a photo. Caleb, smiling, clear-eyed, standing beside a bakery sign in a small town. The sign read, "Peppermint and Purpose." A handwritten note, "Tell the girls I still remember their favorite color. And thank you for letting me go." Emma placed the photo on the hearth wall. Not a shrine, a reminder that letting go doesn't mean losing. Sometimes it means finally breathing again. That night, with the cafe closed, Ethan stepped into the kitchen. Emma stood by the sink, sleeves dusted in sugar. He walked up behind her, placed a hand gently on her back. She turned, tired but peaceful. He held out a small wooden box. She opened it. Inside 2 rings. Simple, hand-carved. One for her, one smaller. Engraved inside both, "Come with me." Emma looked at him, then at the girls curled by the fireplace, asleep under their peppermint blanket. "I said it once," he said. "You didn't ask where. You just came." Tears welled in her eyes. "Now I'm asking again. Come with me for real, for always." She nodded, silent, then whispered, "Home." In a city once too cold, they built a place too warm to leave, where bread meant healing, where peppermint was a color, and where second chances rose like lanterns in the night sky. They didn't find their miracle. They became it, together. If the story moved your heart, we'd love to know. Where are you watching from today? Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us. Sometimes the miracle is not in the moment we survive, but in the life we choose after. Thanks for watching. Stay kind, stay warm, and never underestimate the power of coming home.